And brought to you by these generous sponsors. Now, sit back and get ready for a great night of getting to know the candidates. At this point, I'm honored to turn it over to our moderator for tonight, broadcasting live from the Encore Lakeside Grill and Sky Bar, Luke Hagedorn.
Thank you, Will. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2022 Meet the Candidates Forum for Camden County Presiding Commissioner election to be held on Tuesday, August 2nd. This joint forum is the result of a collaborative effort by the Lake Area Chamber of Commerce and is presented by Lake TV. We welcome the viewers who are joining us either online or on Lake TV. There will be 5 candidates on the ballot running for a 4-year term. We are pleased to have all 5 candidates in attendance this evening. First, the incumbent, Mr. Greg Hastie. Next is former Commissioner, Mr. Chris Franken. Next is Challenger Ike Skelton. Next is Challenger Lydia Porter. And finally is Challenger Nathan Patton. On behalf of the Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, Lake TV, and the voters of Camden County, I would like to thank you for your attendance and participation and look forward to get to know each of you a bit better and learn about your thoughts and views on county government and the role of the commission in general and of the presiding commissioner in particular. Before we get started, we do have a few ground rules to cover. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for opening and closing statements, and 1 minute to respond to the selected questions. We have a timekeeper and a clock up front. Once the question is complete and the response begins, the clock will start. Please be aware of your time, or I will be obliged to make you aware. I will let you finish your thought in a reasonable amount of time, but if you start a new one after the time has elapsed, I will have to intervene. If there are no questions or concerns, we will start with the opening comments. Again, each candidate will have 2 minutes. As determined by a random draw, our first speaker will be Chris Franken. Mr. Franken, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Chris Franken, and I am a 28-year resident of Camden County. I'm married to my lovely wife, Rhonda, for 19 years, and I have a daughter, Olivia, who will be a junior at Camden High School when we start up again here in August. Been a small business owner in Camden County for the 28 years that I've been here, predominantly in the construction business and more specifically in infrastructure work like sewer plant building, on-site septic installation, and road building. I am a robot coach for the Camden Middle School. I'm getting ready to start my 5th season there where I coach the 7th and 8th graders, and we compete against predominantly high schoolers throughout the central Missouri area, and the kids do quite well. It's a challenge, but I enjoy doing it, and it will also be my 9th year that I will be refereeing robot competitions. I'm a member of St. Anthony's Catholic Church here in Camdenton. And as was previously stated in the intro, I did serve as Camden County Presiding Commissioner from January 1st of 2011 to December 31st of 2014. I'm looking forward to what we're going to do tonight here at the forum, and I would appreciate your vote on August the 2nd. Thank you.
Our next candidate with an opening statement will be Mr. Greg Hastie.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Hastie, your Camden County Presiding Commissioner. Just a little bit of background. My roots at the Lake of the Ozarks run back to the 1820s. I've been a surveyor and involved in real estate and land development at the lake for almost 50 years. I'm a licensed professional surveyor and a licensed real estate broker. I'm past president of the Lake of the Ozarks West Chamber of Commerce and former Camden County surveyor. I've served on the Camdenton Planning and Zoning Board for over 10 years, and I have managed the development of multi-million-dollar projects at the Lake of the Ozarks. I have a comprehensive knowledge of Camden County regarding its history, development, and economy. I have almost 50 years of knowledge as a professional surveyor, land developer, real estate broker, and commissioner in Camden County. I have a proven record of leadership. More than anything else, though, my entire family's here and a lifetime of friends, and I have an obligation to them to do what's in the best interest of this county. So I have the knowledge and experience and proven track record to carry our county into the future, and I would appreciate your vote on August the 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. Hastie. Our next candidate with an opening statement will be Ike Skelton.
Hello, my name is Ike Skelton. I was born and raised in Missouri. I graduated high school in Herman, Missouri. After that, I joined the United States Army for 8 years, where I was a mechanic, and I also led soldiers as a non-commissioned officer. After getting out of the United States Army, I started working for the Department of Corrections for the state of Missouri as a corrections officer at the Old Walls Prison. I then started working after I earned my bachelor's degree in criminal justice and sociology. I began working with the Division of Child Support Enforcement. I then began working with the Division of Family Services in St. Louis. I then followed in my father's footsteps and started operating heavy equipment with Operating Engineers Local 513. I then moved down to the lake where my brother started training me as a locksmith in 2008. I moved in about 6 months. I moved to Lebanon, Missouri, where I opened my first shop. I operated it until December of 2016. In January of 17, I moved up to the lake where I took over my brother's locksmith shop, expanded it from what it is today. The Tea Party movement gave me the opportunity to be very involved in politics. I've been very happy to be a part of a movement in Jefferson City that passed a bill to protect property rights. I was also helped in a personhood bill that would have saved the unborn, and I was the leader of an effort that ended the federal program known as the National Blue Way System here in Missouri, the White River Watershed National Blue Way. Mid last year, some friends came to me, said that there were some issues that they thought Camden County needed to be addressed. They asked me to run for this office, and that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'd appreciate your vote August 2nd for Camden County Presiding Commissioner so we can restore integrity, honesty, and transparency in Camden County government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ike. Our next candidate with an opening statement will be Lydia Porter.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I am Lydia Porter, and I reside in Four Seasons, Missouri, with my husband, David, and our German Shepherd, Mopsy. As a matter of fact, my husband, David, is from Sunrise Beach. I'm going to mix it up a little bit this evening. I'd like to start off with your question, probably, as to why, Lydia, are you running, and why are you our best choice? Well, I see an opportunity to serve the people of Camden County with a focus on solutions. Every county has challenges, and I bring to the table qualities and hands-on experience that benefit you, the taxpayers, to deal with these challenges, however daunting they may be. I am courageous. I swim against the tide. I know how to lead people and manage the resources of time and money, and I'm a good listener. I communicate, I connect, and collaborate to get things done. I want to tackle issues we presently face. The top 3 issues I identify will be roads and bridges, planning and zoning, and fixing our propensity to get ourselves entangled in expensive, time-consuming situations that require expensive litigation. Troubleshooting, creating sustainable remedies to daunting problems, that's what I do. And I do not do these things alone. I build teams. I create relationships. This is who I am. I lead organizations. And this is why I feel that I'm your best choice for the next presiding commissioner. My formal education includes a bachelor's degree in business and history from Mid-America Nazarene in Olathe, Kansas, and I have an executive fellows master's in business administration from Rockhurst University in Kansas City, Missouri. Professionally, I worked in healthcare in urban and rural settings for approximately 38 years and found my way to the lake to lead a consortium to fight the opioid epidemic. And then I created the Beam Lighthouse Recovery Community Center on the Bagnell Dam Strip. I appreciate the opportunity to serve you, and I look forward to being your next presiding commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Our final candidate with an opening statement will be Mr. Nathan Patton.
I'm Nathan Patton. I'm running for this job because of the crazy stuff been going on the last 8 years. I live in this community for 33 years. Family has been here for about 3 generations. I've graduated Camden High School back in 2008, got my Eagle in 2007. I've got leader position because I've had that for being a leader for about 8 years in that. I work right now at a boat place. I've worked at a restaurant for about 7 to 8 years. I'm born again Christian. I lead that by example. I try to every day. But make my choices and making the roads, bridges, planning and zoning, and every thing that we need replaced in this county, I want to place it, fix it, or find a solution to make it work better in the community. Vote for me August 2nd, Nathan Patton. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nathan. We put out a call to the community for pertinent questions regarding this particular election. We had a great number of questions submitted and had to make some tough choices to pare it down in the interest of time. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the selected questions, and we'll rotate the starting order and just use your seating order here. So, Mr. Franken, you're going to go first on this one. What are the things you think the county does well, and what are areas for improvement?
I think that the county does a really good job overall with all the different offices that we offer services to the county, like the assessor, collector, clerk, recorder. I think we do a really good job with that. I think that the people there manage their time well. I think the resources of people and the equipment and the things that we have, I think they're all well utilized. I don't think we have surpluses in any of those areas. And I think that we are very good stewards in that manner. The things that I think that we've done poorly is I think that we're doing a very poor job in how we are distributing the money when we set a budget. Money is not going in the proper amounts to the proper places, like Road and Bridge. Road and Bridge should be getting a substantially higher portion of the percentage of the budget than what they are, which is why our roads and bridges are in really poor shape. And we should also we should have more resources that are designated for Road and Bridge and have more of a capital plan in place so that we can make sure that we have equipment and resources to keep that infrastructure where it needs to be. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Nathan Patton. What are things you think the county does well, and what are areas for improvement?
I would say probably the most important thing is the bridges, some of the roads. They need to work on them. There is some stuff that needs more money, like bridges and roads need more money donated to them so we can get them fixed no matter what. Gravel roads are a big concern because I go down a lot of them. We need to fix our leaders, because a lot of leaders in different branches, like everything beneath us needs to be repaired, fixed, and anything we can do, I'm willing to fix that kind of stuff.
Mr. Hasty, what are things you think the county does well, and what are areas for improvement?
Since I took office, we've gone from 18th or 19th in the state in terms of financial strength to 7th, according to S&P. My commission cleaned up Camden County. This resulted in the first 2 clean audits in recent history. During my term, we have spent more on roads, gravel, employee raises, and sheriff's deputy pay than ever in history. While many counties in Missouri are struggling financially because of the decisions they made during the pandemic, Camden County has set economic records 2 years in running. We made good decisions. However, going forward, some of the things that we need to look at, because of all the growth that we had, we've got a problem with employee housing at the Lake of the Ozarks. That needs to be addressed. We need to deal with the concerns with regard to the EPA 303D rating with regard to our water quality and be finding solutions for that.
Next up is Lydia Porter. What are things you think the county does well, and what are areas for improvement?
I think the county as a whole appreciates the various revenue streams that flow into the budget, particularly tourism. And I think that we also have a great team of employees across the courthouse and in our roads and bridges, in our sheriff's department. All of our departments have a team of people that pull together that are very dedicated to the taxpayers of the county and in their respective jobs. Regarding areas of improvement, I would like to see us focus on internal controls in all areas where taxpayers' dollars are at risk. And I also would like to emphasize working on the lack of affordable housing. And I also want to focus on creating sustainable solutions to our challenges, such as roads and bridges, planning and zoning, and expensive litigation.
Finally, Mr. Ike Skelton, what are things you think the county does well? What are areas for improvement?
I think the county does very well when it comes to serving the people. The people that work in the courthouse and in the administrative building do a very fine job. They serve their customers well. I believe that part of the problems we have is maybe sometimes we don't focus on those folks and help make sure that they have a good working environment. I also believe that we have very wrong priorities. We need to be, instead of expanding the size of our government, we need to work on some of the things that we already have, shore those things up. We need to definitely focus on road and bridge, and I think we seriously need to revisit planning and zoning to make it work for Camden County and the people that live in Camden County, not something that fits the rest of the country. I believe that we need to, again, focus on the people that we have in the county and certainly revisit road and bridge, come up with a 5-year plan at least, and start focusing on getting those things right.
Thank you very much. The next question will hit a topic that's already been brought up by a couple candidates here. Nathan, you're going to start us out on this one. Codes and zoning are always a hot topic for county governments. What is your philosophy in general when it comes to zoning and codes? And are there any specific issues you would prioritize in your term as presiding commissioner?
The planning and zoning needs to be either reworked or figure out solutions that does not follow our guidelines in Camden County. I've seen it work in some areas. There's some areas that you have so many strict rules that we have a lot of people moving out of the county. We need to mainly work on bridges and roads and all that kind of stuff, but also we need a strong leadership in every one of our branches in the county. We also need to focus on our businesses, because business is what brings in the revenue for us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hastie, codes and zoning are always a hot topic for county governments. What is your philosophy in general when it comes to zoning and codes? And are there any specific issues that you would prioritize in your term as presiding commissioner?
Well, obviously with planning and zoning, it's always an issue where it's your neighbor and yourself, and we have to try to work those things out to where we protect the interest of the property owner and also protect the interest of the next door neighbor. And that's always a difficult thing. Since I've taken office, when I took office, we were involved in several litigations. We've gotten rid of those, and there's been almost none of that take place since I've been in office. We did a rewrite of planning and zoning. We reduced the minimum lot sizes from 8,500 square foot to 5,000. We did eliminate the waterfront setback because it violated written deed rights that took place in 1929. And you can't just extinguish a deed right by a regulation without compensating the owners for that. They had a written right of access to the Lake of the Ozarks. That's the reason why we addressed that. Going forward, we need to be looking at what we can do, again, with planning and zoning to further enhance the desirability of building workforce housing at the Lake of the Ozarks. And that includes things like tiny homes and things along those lines.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lydia Porter, codes and zoning are always a hot topic for county governments. What is your philosophy in general when it comes to zoning and codes? Are there any specific issues you would prioritize in your term as presiding commissioner?
Well, I believe that planning and zoning is a complex topic for a variety of reasons. People have some very heartfelt thoughts on how they believe planning and zoning should or should not work for them. Greg just mentioned the Unified Land Use Code. I have it right here in front of me, and to be quite honest, I have been studying through this ever since last fall, and then the final version when it came out, the revised effective date January 1, 2022. I think I actually have some questions in here, as anyone would with such a large document, but I think we should start talking about that. We should continue to talk about workforce housing, and we should also, top of mind, be talking about the rental properties, Airbnbs, and VRBOs in the county. That is really creating some hard feelings, and I think we need to talk about how property owners should be able to use their property.
Mr. Ike Skelton, codes and zoning are always a hot topic for a county government. What is your philosophy in general when it comes to zoning and codes? Are there any specific issues you would prioritize in your term as presiding commissioner?
Obviously, planning and zoning is an important thing at the lake area. We have a beautiful lake that we need to protect, and we have property rights that we need to protect. Sometimes it's a balancing act that takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. Our current Unified Land Use Code that was just recently changed was rewritten by an attorney, and it appears as though it was written for attorneys if you read the thing. I believe that we need to put a citizens panel back together again and prioritize what needs to be done in Camden County. A lot of times governments use things like international building codes and other international codes and designs that just don't fit our unique topography and the way that Camden County and the people here like to live. So I believe that putting that panel together and creating a unified land use code that would fit just for Camden County in our unique way would be something that I would definitely want to focus on. I believe also that with our expansion of the public here and how big Camden County has grown, we may need to take a look at the master plan as well and see if it still fits our goals.
Thank you very much. And finally, Mr. Chris Franken, codes and zoning are always a hot topic for county governments. What is your philosophy in general when it comes to zoning and codes? And are there any specific issues you would prioritize in your term as presiding commissioner?
When I left office in 2014, I had a rough draft that was completely penned to begin the hearing process for the revision of the actual land use code. At that time, because I left office, that was not picked up, and it fell to the wayside. If elected, I will interface with our Planning and Zoning Board, as well as the current members of the County Commission, to work to create a draft that we can again use in a public hearing setting to start to mold a unified land use code that fits Camden County and Camden County alone, and that is directed by input from the public that is directly solicited from these public hearings. We have our Public Citizens Board, which is our Planning and Zoning Board, that's already been appointed. So I think the best way to vet the process to move it forward after we have a draft is to have public hearings so that anyone can speak on the matter.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question, and Greg Hastie will start us off on this one. Recent years have seen great economic growth in our county. Still, many see roads and bridges as an area that needs improvement. How would you, as presiding commissioner, balance infrastructure spending with making sure we maintain enough in reserve to cover us if any unforeseen crisis situation that may arise?
That's a good question, and it's a complex one. That's a good question, and it's a complex one. The reality is that when I took office, we had a $1.4 million rollover, which is our basic surplus, which was about enough money to operate for a couple of weeks. Since I've taken office, we've built that up to a reasonable amount of about $11 million. And while we've done it, we've also given more raises than any time in history of Camden County, and we put more gravel down by almost double than Camden County ever has. So we're doing a lot of things right, but going forward, infrastructure, sewer, water, roads, all of those things have got to be a priority. A top priority is protecting our lake and our waterway, which is the basis for which we make a lot of our money here. Workforce housing needs to be addressed. as well, but that has to be brought along with infrastructure. So it's really a complex thing to try to answer all of those things and deal with them at once.
Thank you very much. Lydia Porter, recent years have seen great economic growth in our county. Still, many see roads and bridges as an area that need improvement. How would you, as a presiding commissioner, balance infrastructure spending with making sure we maintain enough in reserve to cover us in any unforeseen crisis situation that may arise?
First of all, I subscribe to the theory that cash is king. So we need to always make sure that we are consistently feeding our reserves so that we have enough cash on hand to deal with any unforeseen circumstances. Camden County Road and Bridge is very important to me. It's a capital expenditure, and a business never has enough money on hand to deal with these issues all at one time. Therefore, they have to sequence how this work gets done to meet the needs of in our case, the county. Road and Bridge participated in a pavement condition assessment some time ago. I have a copy of it. It's very interesting material. The report, the roads have been stratified by their level of repair. This has to be a conversation held across the county with multiple constituents to determine the sequence of projects to be undertaken. Lots of great information here. I do want to share quickly that when this report was done, asphalt prices were $82 a ton laid in place, and today the cost is $103 a ton. So we have a challenge before us.
Mr. Ike Skelton, recent years have seen great economic growth in our county. Still, many see roads and bridges as an area that needs improvement. How would you, as presiding commissioner, balance infrastructure spending with making sure we maintain enough in reserve to cover us in any unforeseen crisis situation that may arise?
That growth is partly why we really need to focus on our infrastructure. I think the county is doing fairly well right now with our reserve funds. I just continue to grow that so that we have a good chunk there should those emergencies that you speak of arise. When it comes to road and bridge and other infrastructures, one of the things that I think we need to do again is focus on the people that work for the county. And I would do that by trying to get them some training. Having been a heavy equipment operator, I understand how that equipment works. As a mechanic, I understand how it's fixed, and I understand what it takes to get those things done. I've understand subgrade, and I can look at a road. We need to get training to these folks so that they can do a better job for the operators, and if we can, figure out how we can maybe get them some more money. I spent some time with those folks out there. They're doing what they can with what they have. Camden County is a big county. We've got a lot of roads we have to deal with, and we need to prioritize that and see where we can't move some money around throughout the budget.
Mr. Franken, recent years have seen great economic growth in our county. Still, many see roads and bridges as an area that needs improvement. How would you, as presiding commissioner, balance infrastructure spending with making sure we maintain enough in reserve to cover us in any unforeseen crisis situation that may arise?
Well, this is all about priorities, and so it's a matter of making sure that you want to make sure that Road and Bridge has the money that they need to have. In the past, and when I say the past, I'm going to say prior to, say, 2014, the Road and Bridge budget was normally somewhere in the range of 20% of the total budget for Camden County. In 2020, 2021, and 2022, that has slid to 13% of the annual budget. Now, the only reason that we can have that happen is because priorities have changed and we're shifting that money to other departments. There have been positions created that we could have probably done without. That there have been raises given to some of the other departments that maybe should have stood in line behind Road and Bridge. We should have made sure that Road and Bridge maintained their percentage of the budget, and we should have also made sure that we continue to build box bridges, which we have not done since 2018, which was authorized by the 2008 sales tax increase.
And Nathan, recent years have seen great economic growth in our county. Still, many see roads and bridges as an area that need improvement. How would you, as presiding commissioner, balance infrastructure spending with making sure we maintain enough in reserve to cover us in any unforeseen crisis situation that may arise?
Well, I'd put so much back for the roads and bridges, and get the Camden County so much money for the deputies, because what they do for our county, because they sacrifice their lives that no one else would really do, because they go through heck and back. I would put so much back on that, and I would put so much back on the other things. I have so much in savings for a crisis actually would happen. We would make a better justice for. I can't.
Thank you very much. Lydia Porter will start us off on this one. What does transparency mean to you as it applies to the county government in general and the business of the commission in particular?
Well, transparency is a word that we've all been saying for the past few weeks that's getting a lot of attention. And transparency in business means, to me, it's integrity. And integrity, you've probably all heard this, that integrity is what you're doing when no one is looking. It's keeping things on the straight and narrow that need to be kept on the straight and narrow. It's keeping the books clean. For me, having a finance background and a business background, it's all about internal controls and having things in such tip-top shape that any auditor, any taxpayer, anyone that wants to come and talk about what we're doing and how we're doing it, bring it on, because I've worked in very highly regulated industries and I understand transparency and the ability for people to come, as I said, the taxpayers or regulators, come take a look, have the doors open. I used to say in healthcare, come in from the dock if you want to, because you're not going to find anything. And I really believe transparency needs to be stressed in the county.
Mr. Ike Skelton, what does transparency mean to you as it applies to county government in general and the business of the commission in particular?
Transparency is key. The people have to know exactly what's going on so that they can keep an eye on their government. You know, the people are a check and a balance to how government runs, and having them involved in part of it makes sure that things continue to run smoothly and for what the people want. I would make sure that we have a concise agenda. Right now, the agenda is very vague. You may not know what's going on. You might want to attend, but you don't necessarily know what's happening on that particular day. People's times and schedules are very critical and they're very tight. They need to know what's happening so they can determine whether they want to participate or not. I also believe that we need to have open working sessions. I also believe that we need to have our commission meetings put online so that people can watch them in every time we have a meeting. I also believe personally that commissioners should have an open door policy. I tend to believe that the presiding commissioner is a bit of a liaison between the people and the rest of the government. And unless you have transparency and an open door, you can't be there for those people.
Mr. Chris Franken, what does transparency mean to you as it applies to county government in general and the business of the commission in particular?
Well, as was said earlier, it is all about making sure that the people can see what's going on in the government. When I was presiding commissioner, the county clerk took our minutes for our meetings like is prescribed by state statute, and if elected, that will occur again. We're also the very first commission to ever audio record and put on the website recordings of the meetings that the commission held. We also were the first ones to put the actual meeting minutes on the website. So working within the constraints of the resources that we had, we did everything that we could to be as transparent as possible. And we were actually were the most transparent commission to this point in history of Camden County. If elected, like I said, we will get back to the business of having the Camden County clerk prepare those meeting minutes. We will also be live streaming the commission meetings in real time with archive access for the public.
Thank you very much. And Nathan, what does transparency mean to you as it applies to county government in general and the business of the commission in particular?
Oh, I would have meetings that would be recorded and also put online so people can see them for a couple of days. So you can video them and see what went on, but also more important, before the meeting started, I would have prayer in there. That's the number one thing I would do before anything started in the courtroom or outside the courtroom, because we need prayer back in this county. I've lived here for most of my life. I have not once seen prayer on that flag, around the flagpole up front of the courthouse. I maybe seen it maybe once, I recall. we need to make sure people know who we are. Also, we need open policy to, if people want a question, they can give us a call, shoot us an email, and I will get to them, or I would find a way to reach out to them as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. And finally, Mr. Hasty, what does transparency mean to you as it applies to county government in general and the business of the commission in particular?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'd like to answer that by saying during my term as presiding commissioner, our commission took the unprecedented step of requesting an audit from the Missouri State Auditor, knowing that it would expose every problem relating to how Camden County is doing business. That included how the commission was doing business. We took the results of that audit and we fixed everything that was identified as a problem, including with the commission. We established a comprehensive system of internal controls to track every dollar. This resulted in the first clean audits for Camden County in decades. That information is available to the public now, and when we did that audit, the auditors from the state said, well, we don't believe any money's missing. However, we've been unable to track a single transaction. Now, I don't see how those two things fit, but we took on the challenge and we fixed it. We have real transparency.
All right. Ike Skelton will start us off on this question. There has been much discussion regarding the upcoming remodel of county offices. What are your thoughts in regards to that project and how it relates to the county budget?
Well, I think bonding it and borrowing the money is absolutely the wrong way to go. We're about ready to come into an economic downturn. That's where everything in the country is talking about. A recession is blooming. I think this is a very wrong time to be borrowing money. The county that government building has had some problems for a long time and maybe should have been addressed in the past 8 or 12 or whatever years and make sure that things did get fixed. I think, unfortunately, we're in a position now where we might be in a bit of a crunch and we're going to have to get with those. Having been over at the building just a few days ago when they were talking about this move, it seems to be incredibly unorganized. The people that work there really don't know what's happening next. They've had some problems getting leases on the buildings that they're going to move into, and it sounds to me like it might be just a bit of a mess. I would hope that the people, and I know they will, we have fantastic people in Camden County, that they will be patient with everyone there that works there and that we'll get through this, but it sounds like the ball is already rolling.
Chris Franken, there has been much discussion regarding the upcoming remodel of county offices. What are your thoughts in regards to that project and how it relates to the county budget?
Well, I've been very vocal about my position on the debt also, and I do think it's a terrible time also to be borrowing money, especially when we did have options that we could have entertained where we could have written the checks to do these remodels. With regard to the old courthouse, it is an old historical building, and I believe that the investment in that building to remove the asbestos and get it where it needs to be is probably the proper decision to move forward with on that. But with regard to the annex building, we paid, according to the information that I've been able to receive, the basically appraisal value for it. And after we paid appraisal value, we put about $400,000 into it. And now the number keeps jumping around depending upon who you get it from. But somewhere between $1.2 and $2.5 million of the current project is for additional remediation to a building that's only worth $600,000. I contend that building should have probably been demolished and we should have started from scratch and ended up with a better product. Thank you.
Nathan, there have been much discussion regarding the upcoming remodel of county offices. What are your thoughts in regards to that project and how it relates to the county budget?
Well, I also think we should not do anything about the money. Do not do anything about the courthouse right now. We need to worry about more important topics. It's what's wrong with this county. It's been going on for the last probably 30-something years, if not longer. But the Festus thing is very occasional. It can hurt someone very badly. If we need to move, let's find a place that we can hold a lot of people, but also have lots of meetings and we can record stuff pretty easily. We need to worry about are people in the courthouse, because we got probably 30, 40 people working in there at one time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hasty. There has been much discussion regarding the upcoming remodel of county offices. What are your thoughts in regards to that project and how it relates to the county budget?
Well, realistically, we didn't have any option with regard to the work that had to be done. The roof on the old courthouse building was bad and leaking and damaging the internal walls of the courthouse, so something had to be done. And it's going to be a substantial fix to make that happen. And with regard to how we handle that and what we do, we have a very good credit rating. We got a very low interest rate on the money that we borrowed to be able to make those repairs. Yes, we probably are headed into an economic downturn. And when you go into a downturn, cash is king. We have to have a surplus to be able to move flexibly into whatever takes place during a downturn. And I think that is the best way to protect our county's long-term interest, is to have that cash surplus.
Lydia Porter, there's been much discussion regarding the upcoming remodel of county offices. What are your thoughts in regards to that project and how it relates to the county budget?
Well, I'd like to start off by saying that capital expenditures is another topic I really like to talk about. I like to talk about what we have in depreciation accounts, and I also like to talk about safety. As Greg was saying, a roof is something that you can't mess around with, because we all know what happens when a bad roof is in place. I have not been privy to look into all the details of this project, but what I'd like to share with you is we need to look at timing with regards to borrowing any money. We also need to think about any of these projects as a process. I'm a big believer in a formula I call process, structure, outcome. And that type of thinking takes a rigorous approach when it comes to planning projects. Some of you may have heard I mentioned this at the commission meeting the other day, that when we start a project, we need someone who's very capable and knowing about creating project plans. So with regards to this particular process, I would really like to know more about it before I can really talk intelligently, but it does come under my interest in capital expenditures.
Very good. You guys have been good with the time, so we can roll on to some bonus questions. We'll start again down here at the beginning of the table. What areas or functions should Camden County focus on when planning efforts for economic growth? And how aggressive should the county be when pursuing economic development?
Well, economic growth is really normally stymied by a lack of infrastructure. I work with people every day that want to build businesses, especially out in the more rural areas, and sewer infrastructure is a big deal. I've been working with two different developers. I put in a large 1,600 linear feet low-pressure pipe system as nothing more than a stopgap for a facility that is now they're going to be transferring that over to a DNR-approved system. And basically, they're in a situation where they've taken $30,000 and kind of thrown it away just so they could get open because of the permit process involved with DNR. So things that we can do maybe by looking at maybe expanding some of our sewer districts in some of those areas, or trying to intercede for these businesses with DNR to try to shorten the permit times. That would be a huge thing that we could do to help get these businesses where they can get open, because sewer is something that you have to have.
Thank you. Mr. Nathan Patton, what areas or functions should Camden County focus on when planning efforts for economic growth? And how aggressive should the county be when pursuing economic development?
Well, for one, like Chris said, we need to span our sewer stuff farther out, because I know going toward Lebanon, it's only out maybe a little bit, about 3 miles from Decaturville, and going to the other side of Greenview. We need to make sure our businesses, we can get more business in this county, different locations, instead of kicking them to like Lebanon, Springfield, St. Louis. We're in here at Lake of the Ozarks. We want to bring people in here. Let's build stuff that's going to bring people, like activities for families. So they come down for the lake. What do they do when they get out of the water? go out and eat. Maybe they want to go play miniature golf or something like that. Go-karts. There's nothing like that around here to do for activities for families.
Next up, Mr. Greg Hastie. What areas or functions should Camden County focus on when planning efforts for economic growth, and how aggressive should the county be when pursuing economic development?
Well, with regard to economic growth, infrastructure is of critical importance. It's the thing that we need to focus on first. You can't have economic growth without it, and that's why Camden County has taken a good percentage of our ARPA funds, and the state of Missouri is getting ready to give grants to water districts, sewer districts in the tens of millions of dollars, but they have to have matching funds. What we're doing with our ARPA money is using that as seed money to these water districts and sewer districts as a basically down payment to take $3 or $4 million or $5 million and turn it into $40 or $50 million worth of infrastructure growth for Camden County. So we're trying to do very much the best thing we can do to get the most dollars and most bang for our buck to grow our infrastructure so that we can address workforce housing.
Thank you very much. Lydia Porter, what areas or functions should Camden County focus on when planning efforts for economic growth? And how aggressive should the county be when pursuing economic development?
Well, planned economic growth is both an art and a science. There's definitely an equilibrium that has to be obtained there. And as everyone has mentioned, infrastructure is job one. A well-trained workforce housing, access to quality health care, quality school systems, those are all part of a robust planned economic growth program. I also wanted to mention, as Greg just did, about the ARPA funds. I picked up on July the 21st from Jimmy Laughlin's office the latest and greatest copy of the $8 million and how it's been projected to be spent. And as Greg said, the water districts is job one really at $2.5 million. And I agree that water is extremely important, access to quality water, and also then what are you going to do with that water? So water treatment plants and sewers are very important. So again, planned economic growth is an art and a science, and it takes a lot of people, a lot of subject matter experts to explore that topic.
Finally, Mr. Ike Skelton, what areas or functions should Camden County focus on when planning efforts for economic growth? And how aggressive should the county be when pursuing economic development?
Well, I think we should be incredibly aggressive. The areas of infrastructure, codes, regulations, all of these things are a function that we're going to have to continue to look at throughout the county, throughout the county's time. When we get those together, economic development will come together a little bit better as well. But I also believe that the presiding commissioner specifically, as I mentioned earlier, is not just a liaison, but is also an ambassador. I believe that to make this job work, it is a full-time job, a minimum of 8 hours a day, if not more. And in so doing, we need to go out and we need to seek this economic development, go to different conferences and try to find people that may be willing to move to Lake of the Ozarks. I think we have a gold mine here, and I believe there's a lot of businesses that'll bring their picks and shovels and start looking for it. I think Camden County can have a very bright future and does.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody got that one. We still have time for at least a couple more here. So, Nathan, you're going to lead us off on this one. How do you see the role of the commission office in the day-to-day operations of the county?
Well, I see them, in my view, in the people's eye view, that we need to priority our time, not just working with the community, with our businesses, but we have plenty of people come down every weekend, every week during the summertime that I've actually talked to, that they say, coming down here, our roads are horrible, our businesses, oh, I have this, or I don't have this. Well, let's make the people come down here so they come down here in the off season, like October to March. We need to priority our time in this county, and if I get this job, I'm going to priority making my time helping my workers out. If I'm not doing paperwork or in a meeting, I'm going to be out there working right beside the guys.
Mr. Greg Hastie, how do you see the role of the commission office in the day-to-day operations of the county?
Well, until you've been a commissioner, you really don't realize how complex the job is. When you're dealing with 14 different elected officials and their budgets and their needs, along with Road and Bridge and the Sheriff's Department, it's far more complex than you can ever imagine. So your job is basically, as a presiding commissioner, is to work with all of these elected officials, figure out what they need, and try to move forward to address all of the things that you possibly can, given the budget constraints that you have. It's a complex job. It's active day to day, and it's dynamic. There's never a day that takes place in the commission office where you don't see something that you've never seen before. It's an interesting job. It's a stressful job, but it's a very fulfilling job if you pour your heart into it.
Lydia Porter, how do you see the role of the commission office in the day-to-day operations of the county?
I believe that county government is parallel with big business because we are big business in Camden County. We have a whole variety of opportunities in the county, from the lakes to the golf courses to the forests, all types of situations, just like in big business where you're not quite sure what your marketing strategy might be for a product, and then the engineers bring in a brand new product. So the variety of things that a county commissioner has to deal with is varied day to day, and I'm sure, as Greg says, you deal with unexpected situations on a daily basis. Actually, I printed off all 33 pages of the expectations of a county commissioner under Section 49 of the Missouri Constitution, and I've been reading and studying about it, and it is absolutely exciting to go through this, and truly the word dynamic is appropriate to the responsibilities. And the presiding commissioner is the leader of the county government and needs to be seen as such.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ike Skelton. How do you see the role of the commission office in the day-to-day operations of the county?
The commission office in general, obviously, is very vital in the day-to-day operations. I believe as presiding commissioner, there are 3 commissioners, so the presiding commissioner is not going to make all those decisions on their own. They need to make sure that the other 2 commissioners are included in every decision and everything going forward, as well as including all the people. I also believe, again, that the commissioner needs to, the presiding commissioner and the other commissioners need to be out talking to the people that work for the county, that work with the county, find out what their needs are. I believe that my skills as a people person is very good for this sort of a position, because that's what you're doing. You're dealing with people and the issues that people have every day. And if we prioritize those people, that is a very critical role of the commission. And working together, all 3 of them together, there isn't anything that can't be solved.
Mr. Chris Franken, how do you see the role of the commission office in the day-to-day operations of the county?
There are a lot of duties that come along on a day-to-day basis when you're working in the commission. A lot of ministerial duties, a lot of things that have to be, decisions have to be made on the fly, things that have already been determined through the budget, through planning, and having those other 2 district commissioners there to help you out, to be able to have some kind of a plan of, you're going to handle these types of duties, you're going to handle these types of duties, and I'm going to handle those types of duties. That makes a really big difference in how efficient you can be when you manage that. Having a good working relationship with all the other elected officials. I always had a great relationship with all the officials. They knew they could trust me. They knew that I would treat them square on their budget, and they knew that I wouldn't tell them anything that we had to do that we didn't really need to do, and I always kept them well informed. That's something that is paramount to making sure that the courthouse continues to run smoothly, is that all your elected officials trust each other, can work together. And the final thing is making sure your door is always open like mine was. You always return your phone calls, and you make sure that you're accessible to the constituency.
Have time for one final question before we get to our closing comments. Mr. Hastie, you will lead us off on this one. Voter turnout is traditionally quite low, especially in primary elections such as this. What would you say to a potential voter to convince them to participate in the political process?
Well, I think that there's never been a more critical time for Camden County and our nation than there is right now. There's a lot of divisiveness in our nation, and unless we participate in the process, we're going to leave the operation and who gets elected to people at the fringes. There's too many people in the middle that are not being active in our government. Folks, you need to get out and vote so that we have a balance in our government. I like the way government used to be 20 or 30 years ago rather than the way we have it now when it's just honestly full of hate and divisiveness. I'd like to see that go away, and let's get back to some statesmanship.
Lydia Porter, voter turnout is traditionally quite low, especially in primary elections such as this one. What would you say to a potential voter to convince them to participate in the political process?
I believe that voting is a right as an American citizen. We are the envy of the world for the freedoms and the liberties that we experience in the United States of America. And on a local level, I really believe that all of us presently serve as leaders within the community, and we need to build engagement with our taxpayers so that they understand the importance and the value associated with being an active member of the political process. And voting for them, for all of us, is job one. I think that people really need to understand also that if you don't vote, you shouldn't complain, because you've been afforded an opportunity that many people, again, across the world aren't privy to. So I think by talking to people, for them to really understand how great the United States of America really is and the liberties afforded to us, that we can build engagement and encourage voting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ike Skelton. Voter turnout is traditionally quite low, especially in a primary election such as this. What would you say to a potential voter to convince them to participate in the political process?
Well, it certainly is a privilege in America to vote, but I think it's also kind of a duty. In a constitutional republic, as our government is set up in, it is critical that the people make sure that they choose the representatives that they want speaking for them at the government levels, at all levels. And I also believe, I know, honestly, right now, the federal government and state governments have kind of really made a poor example of what office holders should be doing, and has turned off a lot of folks. But I have to say that the local level is where the biggest decisions that are made can possibly affect you the very most. It is at the local level that you should be the most concerned, I believe, honestly, because you have the ability to go see those individuals after you've elected them. I would just highly encourage everyone to participate in this process, especially in the primaries, because in the primaries is where you get to find the person that most fits your ideologies and your beliefs. Please vote August 2nd.
Mr. Franken, voter turnout is traditionally quite low, especially in primary elections such as this one. What would you say to a potential voter to convince them to participate in the political process?
I would say all of your local officials are going to be elected on the primary election on August 2nd, 2022. This is a truly unique thing that happens in Camden County almost every year. That's not a partisan statement, it's a fact. All of your local officials normally run as Republicans. There are very few Democrat candidates that come out. That means that people that like to wait for the November election in the general don't get a say in these elections when they skip the primary. And a lot of the people that skip the primary are the people in the middle, because the people on the edges are always very impassioned. They're always showing up to the polls, and they're always casting their vote. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody should be casting their vote. But you people in the middle that think that you can wait until the general need to remember that to have that local impact, you've got to vote in the primary. Please vote August 2nd.
Nathan, voter turnout is traditionally quite low, especially in primary elections such as this one. What would you say to a potential voter to convince them to participate in the political process?
I would tell you, let's vote for the right candidate. I would tell you to vote for the candidate that's going to make you a better community, a better state, a better country. If you vote August 2nd, you're going to make a better world out of the whole thing, because we need a strong community not just here, all over the county or all over the state. You vote August 2nd, but let God follow you. And you pray before you go to the polls. And He'll lead you to the right person. Don't go to the general election and think the guy you vote in there, oh, this ain't the right candidate. I don't want him in there. Well, if you didn't vote, don't complain. Because I know people that don't vote during the primary, but go to the general election, and they gripe.
That concludes our question and answer portion of the evening, and we will now give each candidate an opportunity to make a closing statement of up to 2 minutes. We will go in reverse order of the opening statements, so be aware of the order. I'll call them out as we go. Please be aware of the timekeeper. This is your chance to speak directly to your constituents and ask them for their vote. Up first is Nathan Patton. You have 2 minutes.
I'm Nathan Patton, running for Presiding County Commissioner. I would appreciate your vote August 2nd of 2022. I've been a resident for Camden County for 33 years, and I will make the county way better it's been for over 30 years. And I have so many projects I would like to do to hopefully raise money during the off season, that we have economy that supposedly is grown in the last 4 years. A leader that thinks he did it. It's more of the people in our Camden County that's done that, doing that. I can name names that actually work their butt off for this county day in and day out. And if you vote for me August 2nd, I promise you I will make this county and fight for this county every day, every second, every minute, every hour. I am breathing in this county because I have God, and He will lead me through the righteousness. He will lead me through the pastures. And I will not give up on this county from day one to the day I am voted out. God bless Camden County, and God bless America.
Thank you very much. Next up is Lydia Porter. You have 2 minutes.
Over the past 2 years, I have observed an increasing amount of divisiveness and incivility in the county. I believe these behaviors only serve to limit the success of Camden County, and this is why I chose to run for presiding commissioner. Leaders are more than dogma. They are tasked with bringing people together to create solutions that work. Once those solutions are designed, county leadership must then execute on those solutions. We have some challenges to solve. We've all talked this evening about roads and bridges and planning and zoning, and I've mentioned systems to avoid the expensive litigation. No extreme or unilateral edicts work to move the county forward. Only a dedicated effort to bring the citizens of Camden County together to address these problems and others will create the sustainable solutions that are much needed. This will be my focus when elected presiding commissioner, and I sincerely appreciate your vote on August the 2nd.
Thank you very much. Up next is Mr. Ike Skelton. You have 2 minutes.
Camden County is a fantastic place to live, and primarily because of the fantastic people we have here. We have a myriad of various interests in this county, experiences, and abilities. The trick is to be able to pull those folks together so that we can have the very best county that we have. I believe that my people skills, my various experiences in life have maybe led me to this day here to ensure that we have better leadership in Camden County. An individual that will go out and be with the people and talk with them to find out what's going on, to include them in everything that's happening, to be open, part of the process, and to help move Camden County forward. If you give me the opportunity on August 2nd, I will provide transparency, balance to the county, and help provide things to make sure that our people that work here can go forward, focus on road and bridge and other priorities to ensure that the priorities affect and help every one of you. I'd appreciate your vote August 2nd for Camden County Presiding Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Up next, Mr. Greg Hastie. You have 2 minutes of a closing comment.
Thank you for hosting this tonight. As Camden County Presiding Commissioner, I have worked hard for our county. I've made the hard decisions that guided this county through difficult times. It's been the great honor of my life to serve the people of this county I love during this recent pandemic. I am thankful that our county has been so blessed during the last 2 years. Experience and knowledgeable leadership are critical to the future of Camden County. The decisions of the Camden County Commission affect your land, business, home, and lifestyle. Never in the history of Camden County has that been more apparent than the last 2 years. I have the experience, passion, and proven leadership record that Camden County needs to move forward. I'm asking for your vote on Tuesday, August 2nd. Re-elect Greg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chris Franken. You have 2 minutes.
Camden County, this is a job interview. You guys are writing the check. Your taxes are paying the bills. So you need to make your decisions very carefully. My qualifications boil down to 3 things: education, experience, and past practice. My degree in engineering from Missouri S&T, my certifications in wastewater installation from the state of Missouri, wastewater inspections for real estate transactions from the state of Missouri, my 4 FEMA certifications, my OSHA certification, all put me in a position where I have the best and most applicable education for this job. It helps me bring expertise to the table in roads and bridges and infrastructure, as well as the financial sector. My experience, 28 years of construction, infrastructure, and road building, is invaluable in moving the county forward and improving what we have here in our roads, our bridges, and our sewer districts. Finally, past practice, I had the most transparent commission in the history of Camden County, and I will take that to the next level with the live streaming of commission meetings should I be elected to the position. I will also make sure, again, as iterated earlier, that the Camden County Clerk is taking the meeting minutes as prescribed by state statute. I will also continue to return all phone calls and to have an open door policy and hold public hearings so that I can hear what the people want to say about the things and the changes that we need or are trying to make within the county. Please vote for me, Chris Franken, for your presiding commissioner on August 2nd, 2022.
And this concludes our 2022 Camden County Presiding Commissioner Meet the Candidates Forum. Thank you to Lake TV, the Encore Lakeside Grill and Sky Bar, and the Lake Area Chamber of Commerce for all their efforts in producing the forums for this election cycle. This valuable service to the voters of our communities would not have happened without the selfless efforts of so many folks. Also, I want to sincerely thank the candidates for your willingness to not only join us this evening to let the voters hear directly from you, but for your willingness to put your name on the line in an effort to serve your fellow citizens. Thank you to all who tuned in tonight, and make sure you have your voice heard at the polls on August 2nd. Godspeed, everyone. Good night.